That's not a bad angle either, but you know.
Well, we can't see you though. You can see me.
No one wants to see me, man.
Yeah, we need everybody in the camera.
Creek Homer.
Hey, Creek.
But yeah. Maybe Corey might show up. I don't know if he's gonna be here. And he might show up with Richard. I don't know about that either.
I guess we should have sat on the same side of the table.
No, that's cool.
Now?
No.
Yeah, I guess I'm in here, aren't we?
No.
Okay,
I'm just gonna hold my phone the whole time and smoke some.
Okay. What is this? This is our third podcast together, right?
Yeah.
And you're fourth?
Sixth.
Sixth.
I recorded a few like kind of funny ones with my friends and just talking about stuff and whatever. But third Arrowhead podcast, I would assume.
And then the normal name of it is
Hookah Talk.
Hookah Talk. Hookah.
Yeah, hookah is a lot of fun. They're not horrible.
Well, you can, at the top of the hill, right across from the school, is actually the road, and if you come down at the bottom of the hill, where it meets Highway 17, that's where HH Highway starts at.
Yeah. Well, that's cool.
And that's also being put on by Richard's Relic Shack and Nomadic Adventures. You guys know that guy?
Yeah.
Who is that guy?
Well, so how many people are going to be there, you think?
Well, we have 20 people displaying, and within that there's, I think, 5 tables with Richard's tables, because he always has the most tables, you know, of course. But everybody at the show is all people with their own personal finds, or...
So if you made it, leave it at home, pretty much. That's what I say, right?
Yeah.
It's too small of a venue for everybody to be bringing in their prized makings.
Well, the bad thing when you get a lot of big shows like that, and you get all that... Some people don't want to accept that fact, you know.
Yeah.
But that's what we're for. Oh, get away from it.
Now, what if you're at the show and stuff?
I think we're gonna have to worry about that.
We're gonna be not looking at the arrowheads, are we?
Somebody I know personally, and he'll be at the show. He called to set up a table, but unless some people find and don't even talk about it, you know, with other people. They're so hush-hush about it, you know. But social media has kind of changed that a lot. So social media has blue artifacts out of the water.
So
everybody wants to find an arrow. Okay.
How many Clovis points do you think have been found in Miller County that you know of?
Oh, this county and surrounding counties, quite a bit.
Really? Yeah.
Oh, yeah, all the waterways. I mean, that's the thing too. I've been meaning to actually, and there's other areas that have waterways in the lower 48 net where it's a Salutrian site, and there's also a video that Dr. Dennis Stanford does. That's on YouTube, and he talks about that site as well. That's how I found out about that site and Googled it up and everything. And most all their tools and everything there are made from the local material, but all their Salutrian points and their projectile points all come from an island that's at least 3 days or 3 weeks by boat travel back then. You know, that's paddling, you know, and fighting the current and everything like that. So, you know, that material could only come from that island. That's the only way that they were able to get that. So, you know, they were using boats here the whole time. It's just when you have something made out of that type of material, it's not going to last. Now, the past few years, especially with these new big major floods, there's been a lot of old 700, 900-year-old canoes washing out. There's been a couple down in Louisiana. The Cahokia Museum has a new display up there. It's out of the St. Francis River in Arkansas, and it's about 900 years old. And you can actually see, because I went and looked at it,
Yeah.
But you can see you can tell how it was worked with the adze, and then also, burned a little bit at a time, and then still, chopped out and everything like that. That's something I've been wanting to do, is actually get a actual adze hafted onto a really good handle and show how those actually get used. But it's just like watching a guy with a metal steel adze, you know what I mean? But a lot of people, I think that they have the impression that bullnose end is like facing upwards in a handle like this, and it's actually turned upside down, where this top part is your flat uniface side, if it does have one, because they all don't, and you get adze that don't have a bullnose end, or they almost have a bit that almost fits in the center, instead of directly to one side. But adze vary, like a lot of other things, they have some variation to them, but there's still an overall, an overall to them that makes them an adze. But because when you're going like this and you're working any kind of wood, that's how that thing's going to work its best.
Yeah.
That's just, not just being an old carpenter and a woodworker, but it's also, common sense and logical.
Yeah. Well, I think I moved my phone up there, and I think it's got a lot better service now.
So that's good. I can't get nothing to come up on my phone, because I can't tell if somebody's leaving a comment down there or watching us or what.
Yeah, I don't know.
We have for you Instagrammers, we have my little tablet live on YouTube. On my YouTube channel, Bruxy's Nomadic Adventures. Paleo. Which I meant to bring that last point I found. Did you see that?
I've seen a lot of your points that you found recently. When did you find it?
It was in the creek as my last video.
Oh.
It was like the third find, and then my friend, she found a frickin' a little translucent Dalton Sloan and a drill in the same path on this giant ground bar, and her only path she had walked as we were getting on it. It was, but I had found mine earlier, and more like earlier in the day. It's like, I called it a Graham Cave, because I sent the picture of it to a couple different people, and a friend of mine said that he thought it was White River Point, and I just gave my opinion, IMO, in my opinion. And I think he got a little hurt about it or something, but I don't think it is a White River, I had a White River Point, and they're very like a Graham Cave, and for me to actually be a Graham Cave point, it really has to have them bottom pointed ears coming off of the base. They got to be really pointy, or to me, if they're roundish, that's kind of what a hemp or a White River's like. It has some ears that stick out, but they're not pointy. They're rounded off, but they're not wide, or real flat like a hemp hill is, or a Osceola Point is.
Yeah. I have a American Graham Cave. It's immaculate. If that was whole, you wouldn't think it was real, for sure. It's that nice. It's like it's nice. It's orange and white, found in Boone County. There's a farmer cut through a house mound with his tractor to make a road, and Corey and I started digging in that house mound and pulled it out, and that's the only thing we found in there too. It's like, dang, Corey.
Besides that White River Point out of the creek, I've had, I think it's like just a handful of broken Graham Caves. Most of them had an ear missing and maybe real short, or so much tip missing, and heck, I gave all them away to friends,
Yeah.
So I don't have a really full badass Graham Cave, which I really want one bad. It was like my Malibu. I was such a Graham Cave's always been a favorite point of mine. When I had my Malibu, the guy who did all my tattoos, I helped him, but I also had to pay him to, he drew it out and then custom airbrushed a Graham Cave on my Malibu on the front quarter panels. and then he did a pinstriping with horsehair at the very last, like on all the ridge, on all the flake scar ridges. That way when you ran your hand across it, it felt like it had flaking. And then, which we had already wet sanded it down, so we did like 4 coats of clear coat over each quarter panel.
Dang.
And what was that?
A bunch of questions.
Oh yeah.
They come back and forth.
I've been trying to get it up on my phone. Maybe can we get my phone? I wonder if we can pull it off the Wi-Fi too.
Yeah.
And it not be too strong. That way we can figure out what's going on.
Just get on your Wi-Fi and look for my phone, and it should be there. See, the questions are up now.
Okay, here it is. Okay, we were.
And then I'll tell you my password.
20, or it is 25, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it's hotspot's kind of nice to have. Unlimited data on my phone is the only way I can do that, though. But I mean, if I need to watch a movie on a laptop, I can watch Netflix off my hotspot.
Hello, YouTubers, Instagrammers. Welcome to Hookah Talk, Artifact Chatter.
Let's see what else.
I'm
I'm following Rick Hersey. I hope I'm saying that right.
Yeah, Mr. Rick Jitsu.
Yeah, he's cool, man. He's on it with those Atleys.
Yeah, his Atleyville site's been doing really good.
And they're deep. I feel like up there, those Atleys are deep.
Well, they're in a lot of that sand. Also, which that's a little bit different. I'm trying to get it to modify network.
And
let's see,
he's just killing it. D-A-Y-N-E.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
It is 25. Should be good.
Show password. Do that.
It's like every other day he's pulling out Atleys. And they're amazing. Those Atleys up there are long too. I love Atleys for that reason. I love a big old Atley. I don't know.
Yeah, well, they're north of the Missouri River in our state. A lot of people sees the points I find, and they're like, man, those are big. And you guys ought to see some of that stuff that comes from north of the river. That stuff up there is big. It's like 5-6 inches. Down here where you find a 2-inch Apple Creek. All your Apple Creeks up there are 4 inches, or even bigger. I mean, heck, the Mackey boys were having some 5 and 6 inch freaking Apple Creeks. They were like monsters.
Yeah, my biggest points are out of north of the river.
So dahlias are kind of or Atleys, it's kind of the same thing up there. Everything's a whole lot bigger.
Wonder what it would take for us to go up there and dig with Rick. I'll dig in the stowaway pile, man. I doubt if I find a giant big old Atley in the throwback pile, though. If I did, that would be pretty awesome. Not for him, but for me. Is he going to come to the show? Do you know?
He said he was going to try.
Yeah.
I just had it on there, so hey, look at there. Now we got you hooked up. It said there's 6 watching. But there's a lot going on there. I have to look here and see. Top chat. How do I get?
I've been up there.
Not just rocks. Hello, fellas. He says hello, buddy. Flint Hills, Ocio. Feed was a little rough early, but it's good to go now.
Good. I'm in my phone.
That was just, and I should have brought my glasses. I can't read the time on it. And then, what's up, brother? Dirty Water Jones, hey! Hey, what's up? And then we got Commissioner Tom AA. We got some old timers. Laugh out loud. Love you guys. Love you guys back. Jonesy. Okay. So, what should we talk about that's something important? I think what's really always important, especially nowadays, is everybody that's a strong member in the artifact community. To me, if you look at history, most societies never last. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They always rise and they always fall. You know, communities that are smaller that stick together strong always last. And artifacts, like especially with social media, has blown literally out of the water. But it's, you know, there's always been a lot of little bit, you know, it's like any walk of life. It always has a little bit of everything. You always have good people and you always have bad people.
Yeah.
And you know, it's, you know, that's where my fight's at. You know, be part of the good part that adds, you know, to the circle. You know, it's like the sleaze bay thing that goes on. You know, these guys buy artifacts from guys that nap them, and you know, some of them get a fake patina put on them, some of them don't, and they sell them on there, and people buy them up like crazy, and then they show them online, and it's like, what? Why did you do that? You know, that's not what you do.
There's my favorite is on artifact addictions, where somebody says, "Hey, my buddy found this when he was a kid." I don't even look at the picture at that point. I know it's going to be like a perfect dovetail, or it's going to be a G10 killer giant Etley or a drill, and I'm like, no.
Yeah, I don't understand that.
Snyder's point, that's perfectly circle almost, and just too perfect. I know, you know. No, your friend didn't find that when he was a kid. He told you he found that when he was a kid. Somebody gave it to him. Don't lie to us.
Here's a text coming from Smoke Eater and Commissioner Tom on my phone. What we got here? For a long time, people used to text me pictures of points and stuff they find, either questions or just want to show me what they had or whatever. And then my text quit letting pictures come through. So nowadays I gotta get everybody to email it, which is okay because if I'm on Wi-Fi at home, you know, the email's a whole lot easier. Got Commissioner Tom, nice podcast, Mike. Thanks, Tom. I have a large amount of respect for Commissioner Tom.
Yeah.
He's a pretty knowledgeable guy.
Is he local?
No, he's in Ohio.
Oh, that's not too unlocal.
You've never watched Commissioner Tom?
I might have.
You gotta be kidding me.
I'm
He's an old tuber now. But, then we got Smoke Eater. He says, hey, brother, watching the podcast. What's your advice on identifying a point that seems to have the qualities of two types, which makes it unclear to a novice? Well, let's take my last video. That point that I found, it's a side notch. It's got one hell of a crazy bevel on it. I mean, there's no flat blade facing on it whatsoever. It's all bevel. So normally a point like that, if it just had a little bit of some pointy ears coming off of it, we wouldn't even mistake it for anything else other than a cram cave.
Yeah.
But it's not a classic Grand Cave. It's not a classic White River. It's, you know, it's, if you look at some of the online information, the distribution charts for Big Sandies goes like up into northern Missouri. To me, that's crazy. You know, I've never seen a Big Sandy found anywhere around me. They're all Robinsons, Redats Points, you know, White Rivers, stuff like that. Southern Missouri, very, very southern, and part of Arkansas, yeah, they do get some Big Sandies, but most of those are all east of the Mississippi, you know, Kentucky, Tennessee Points, you know, stuff like that. Southern Illinois, a little bit of Ohio. But it's also just like they say, the Adena culture didn't come any closer than 150 miles east of the Mississippi, but here in Missouri we have all these contracting stemmed points with round beaver tail bases that look like an Adena from anywhere else. Okay, so you know, that's the thing about archaeology. Everything is always going to be constantly advancing. It's like anything that I read that's a real old book, you know, whether it's 30 years or especially 50-year publications, you know. I mean, those people were, you know, great people, but, you know, the thinking has quietly expanded since then. You know, it's like everybody wanted to read the same thing over and over and over without any progression in there.
Yeah.
And you got to progress constantly. You have to learn to think out of the box, you know. But anything with prehistoric people, to me, everything is practical thinking. You know, it's logical thinking.
Survival is logical.
Yeah, it's the most prime essence of being a human. You know, they didn't have all these hang-ups. They didn't have social media.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't have to school and some job to pay some shitty house payment and some bullshit insurance for, you know, for stuff that's killing you anyways. You know, buying crap out of some market. You know, everything was to live, you know, to survive. And, you know, that's where a lot of people think they all fought, you know. Well, I really don't think that really happened maybe until like some woodland and definitely Mississippi, because civilization just got so big. But anything that's late woodland, archaic, paleo, there's nothing that suggests that, you know, that they actually fought. I mean, it doesn't make any sense. You know, if you do that, you're not progressing. You know, you're taking time away from what you need to be actually doing, and you need everybody in your group to survive and be good, healthy people, because that's the only way you prosper as a group.
Yeah. I feel like the natives, being such a spiritual and culturally spiritual people, that they were not, and they're very efficient, but if you look back in time, anywhere else in the world, it always was war. Even at the beginning, at first civilization, it was just fighting and fighting, but there were just so many of them, and they weren't efficient. It got to the point where we had regressed in war so much because we fought each other so much. We had guns. When we showed up to the natives that were in the United States, if one man, I mean, if it's a small amount of people that split up at one point, one took longer to develop war than the other. You know, they was just more efficient. And so the other, when we got to the people that walked off, you know, 30,000 years ago, they didn't have guns or anything. They weren't killing each other in mass numbers, like, you know, and like the Crusades. They weren't doing that. They're efficient. They had to survive, and they were very spiritual people. I wonder.
Yeah, I've always believed that. I mean, yeah, if you do look back at a lot of history, I mean, that's why I said, you know, civilizations, a lot of them, it rise and fall because of just that. But it's always because there's always some type of greed that has to have power. And when they get that power, it's more greed, and it's just a vicious circle that never ends. You know, you take Alexander the Great, you know, if you Google him up online, you know, the first like 10 pages is all praising him, you know, as being one of the great war strategists in the world and blah, 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 which, yeah, he was good at that, but he was actually, I mean, you know, let's see, how long have I been out of school? Almost 30 years, you know, back then, you know, they were starting to teach some things a little bit differently, you know, because it's a little bit more out of the box or whatever. But Alexander the Great was actually one of the first terrorists, mass terrorists. You know, what he did was he came to your city, and you either, you know, fell to your knees, joined his army, your wives and children became slaves, or he chopped all your heads off and staked them around the city. You know, you look at what the Romans did. You know, you look at what the Egyptians did. You know, it was all for rule of power. And over here, I just think they didn't need somebody that needs to control everyone and have a giant rule of power. You know, so therefore life was a little bit more simplicity asking. But like Smoke had asked, you know, how is it unclear, you know, to anyone to identify a point that melts together? You know, it's like Creek Dalton. Here the other day, I think it was just yesterday, he showed 2 points that looked like a smith, you know, but they have a bulbous base. The one looked like it had edge work inside the ears, which only happens on Melvilles and Calf Creeks. It doesn't happen on a smith. And then they were kind of odd, but that's a lot of points in Missouri. It's kind of like that point I just found. You know, it's a melted together point. And I think a lot of that's due to, you know, there was a lot of travel
trading ideas,
you know. And then people, you know, they were the ultimate rock hunter. You know, they were just like us, so they were always finding older points or somebody else's point, whether, you know, it's 100 years old or 1,000 years old, and maybe modifying theirs a little bit.
Yeah.
So you're gonna end up around here. You end up with a melting pot's what I call it.
Yeah.
You know, but I believe that can happen anywhere because, especially with social media now, we're seeing things that most people never got to see before. And you're always, I mean, people back then were just as individuals as they are now.
Yeah.
You're always going to have somebody in a clan that's going to go one day, I want to do something different. You know,
Yeah.
it's like that Etley I pulled out there at the hole at the eclipse. It has a bulbous base, a serious bulbous base, completely round and heavily ground. And everybody, no, that's not it. Well, yes, yeah, Brooksy, he's crazy. You know, okay.
Yeah.
You know, it has a flaking of an Etley that come from right along with a bunch of broken Etleys, so I know it's an Etley.
Yeah. I would say they definitely exchanged ideas quite a bit. I mean, if you look at it, as you come across America and you were studying natives, or if you were Lewis and Clark, you come across a lot of the same technology for the most part. Everybody had their own bird point. You know, it's not by chance. It's by, hey, this bow works. You know, next time we meet up, let them know that the bow works and show them how to use it. I'm sure it rapidly, you know, came across.
Yeah, and to actually say when the bow and arrow came in, that's really hard that's always gonna be hard for anyone to determine because they were using it on the European Asian continent, you know, thousands of years, you know, ago. And, you know, who's to say a lot of them little dart points that we find weren't just shot from big, thicker arrows. And,
Yeah.
you know, they're like everything else, years down the road they're refined. But those are like some of the questions that just some things are not going to be answered without being able to find actual, you know, factual evidence,
Yeah.
physical evidence.
Yeah, good luck with that hypothesis, right?
Yeah.
How do I find this out?
Well, I have it come from a friend of mine who lives in Texas now, but it's a arrow that was found in 1870 with 4 other arrows in a quiver and a bow in a dry cave
Yeah.
by his uncle, and then he still has the quiver, 1 arrow, and the bow, and he give 3 arrows away, and he give 1 of them to me. And it has like a 1840s steel trade point on it.
Yeah.
You know, so the point itself is 30 years older than when it was supposed to have been found.
Dang. That's pretty cool.
So, you know, anything's possible.
And I don't think it took them very long to use the Adelaide or come up with that idea. You know, bigger game, and they just got to propel an Adelaide or a spear point. They just got to do it. And I think that was one of the first inventions.
Well, yeah, they probably, who's to say when they came up with the Adelaide 120,000, 150,000
Yeah.
years ago? I mean, you look at the Aborigines, you know, they still use the Adelaide today, and theirs is made a little bit different, but, you know, if they came across, you know, the ocean way to get over Australia, they probably already had the Adelaide before then. They didn't go over there and think of it on their own,
Yeah.
and then back over on the Euro-Asia continent, somebody said, hey, maybe we'll come up with this idea too, you know. It was already around and passed around for, you know, who knows, like I said, 150,000, 200,000.
Yeah. There's a documentary on Hulu called Cave of Dreams. Did I ever tell you about that?
I don't think so.
It's in France, and then there's this cave that the French government actually runs it, and they put a vault door on it, and then they made railings so you couldn't touch the cave all the way through this cave, and it goes back a long ways, and they only let people in it maybe once every 20 years to keep down the humidity, and so they brought in the world's best art people with cave paintings, all the best archaeologists in the world. Like, if you got picked for this, it's like 100 Nobel pieces.
Well, I think I read on that site.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure I have that actually on my computer.
So these people go down there, and then there's this amazing wall art, and they dated it all back to about 35,000.
Oh yeah. I know exactly which one you're talking about.
Yeah, and it's deep. They're in there deep, man. They're way past. You know, they're way past light of any type, and they found points in there, of course. And they talked about how they used the atlatl. They found atlatls and 35. So for sure, 35,000 years ago, you know. And they did ceremonies then. They set up like a bear's skull on a shelf, and they figured out they were doing ceremonies in that room. It's like, dang.
Well, to me, that's what petroglyphs and pictographs are. Is them being in a spiritual sense. I mean, anybody that is spiritual, you do something to leave something behind.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that was their way to always leave something behind.
Yeah.
That to me, that's why here you find petroglyphs. Some of them have been dated. Can't remember exactly where that site's at, but they've been dated 10,000 years old.
Yeah.
And then they come all the way, which now a large amount were done like through the Mississippian culture, especially out west, with the Hopi Indians and, Aztec, Anasazi,
So the civilization and the culture that built the Cahokia Mounds, was that a big one? I heard it was huge.
They estimated it to being, they said when it was built that until the 1800s, and I think it was a town in Pennsylvania, that was like the largest city ever, and that was like 20,000 people. But I bet their number's a little off. I bet it was probably a lot more than 20,000, 25, 30,000. I mean, there's a large ground there. Man, I did not bring my glasses, and I cannot read this phone at all. It's got all kinds of questions on it. Look at it, and it's all blurry. Here, maybe you can read some of them for me.
Of course, yeah.
Since you got yours. I'm getting old, folks. Turned 48 this year.
Let's see. Dirty Water Jones. My bucket list is to burn one with Brooksy or Willie Nelson.
Well, I'd like to hang out with Willie too. And Jonesy. Come see me, Jonesy.
Let's see.
Because that's what I was interested in too, was that's why I decided to put it on my YouTube this time, was so we can ask questions, what does the community want to talk about? What would you like to hear? That's why, I throw that out there, and then Justin, brought in, why do you find two different points, or a point that looks like two different kinds? Well, that's like I said, we know they found older points, different cultures that did a lot of rock hunting, especially in waterways, besides just mining their stone out of the ground somewhere.
Yeah.
But,
somebody asked if you're ready for mushrooms.
Oh, are we ready for mushrooms? I'm the spoho, folks. You know what a spoho is? I'm a sporho.
Yeah. I like hunting for them. I don't really eat them that much. I guess I'm just not a big mushroom fan. But
I love
when I cook
Morels.
them, it's really good.
But
you deep fry them, you dip them, or dip them?
Well, no. This year I'm going to be using my new air fryer. I'm not allowed to eat fried foods anymore.
Wait, so the air fryer, is that pretty awesome?
Yeah, I've been making fish in it, and man, it's fantastic. I still like baked broiled fish.
Yeah.
That's how I have to eat a lot of my fish. But now since I have the air fryer, I use it, so it's just like fried fish, but there's no grease in it. You know?
I think I'm gonna buy one.
Because when I first had this problem, and people would tell me, "Oh, we'll buy olive oil or this or that," and I'm like, "No, you don't understand. Any type of oil has 14 grams of fat per serving. My pancreas doesn't break down fat anymore, so I can't eat like hardly more than 30 grams a day. And then I got to eat these great big horse-looking pills made from a pig's pancreas to actually break up all the fatty food. Which trying to eat 20 grams or under is like living like an Asian rabbit, like lettuce and tofu and I'm sorry, I'm a carnivore.
Yeah.
So I've been a lot of deer meat, a lot of fish, chicken, vegetables, baked beans, sweet potatoes, lots of potatoes, and fake eggs.
Yeah, I want to make not make, but I want to get an air fryer probably really soon. That'd be really nice to have. I'm ready to go fishing. I haven't been fishing all winter. It's just so miserably cold out there. Yeah, and now that I got a boat, I can let it warm up a little bit better. I'm not shore fishing, so I can get around and go anywhere I want and enjoy it more. So I want to wait for the sun to come out a little bit more and then get back to catfishing. I don't really like anything but catfishing. It's my favorite.
Yeah, I love catfishing. Actually, I've been slacking off on the fishing here lately. I should have been hammering a walleye. I've only been a couple of times and just didn't stay very long. I wasn't just fully up to it, but I was pushing myself for it. And most of my good moments lately, I've been saving out to get out rock hunting. Of course, y'all know we had a flood, so
Yeah.
who loves a flood more than a rock hunt? Nobody.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, I do a lot of my fishing down by the dam. I don't really fish the lake a whole lot. In the summer, it's just my little bass boat just gets thrown around so bad. Giant cruisers flying by, you can barely fish.
Well, isn't this cool as hell? I'm sitting here looking at comments, and we got people having a conversation.
Oh yeah.
All together,
Yeah.
So yeah, that's really cool. That's community right there.
That's why I stopped reading comments. I was like, wait, who's not feeling good? Somebody's not. Yeah, there's like comments that weren't related. I'm like, I don't know if I should read that.
That'd be my bro, Ohio Flint guy, Clarence. Yeah. He's a heck of a guy. He's had, a lot of us, had some health issues through the years, and we'd like to see him get out there and find some good shinies.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm pretty healthy, so I go out and I just keep going. I love it. I mean, I'm a young guy. I can just dig all day. Just give me...
Yeah, enjoy that while you can.
Give me some Gatorade. What else do I usually take with me? Some cheap food from the gas station, and I'll dig 8 hours straight. Corey and I will be so tired. And then we'll come out of the woods physically exhausted. We'll dig till 10 o'clock at night sometimes if we're, in an overhang where we got a light. And, man... We come out cold in the winter, digging in the ice. We'll do anything for a point.
Yeah, I'd give anything to be your guys' age again, mid and late 20s, man. Sorry, my brother Tim, but I'd have the hole about half dug through by now.
Yeah.
Instead of a little piddle here, a little piddle there, Me and Richard nowadays, we don't like going when it's cold or, we go for a few hours and we're done, you know. Me, it's home to the couch. I don't know what he does. Probably about the same thing.
He seems like a pretty busy guy. It seems like when I drive by, he's not even home half the time. So I called him and he said he was going to come on the podcast. We're going to figure out when he's going to be on. So yeah, hopefully he can come on and tell us some hilarious stories or whatever, and talk about arrowheads.
Yeah. Yeah, I just went yesterday and got the orders in for the awards we're giving away at our show. A best personal find for last year, of course, and best of show, and then an award of excellence. But I couldn't get the certain type of award I wanted, so I had to drive farther than what I wanted to. So I drove it by Just City, and I went to this place called Marble Graphics.
Yeah.
And these awards that we're gonna give away. Now the best of show and the best personal find are bigger. The award of excellence is a little bit smaller.
Yeah.
But they're still pretty nice. But they are pretty expensive too. A lot more than what most people pay for awards for a show.
Yeah.
That I've ever been to or seen. Which there's a lot of shows.
I don't know. I've never got an award. Maybe this is my year. Best personal find, and it's the cash of, I don't know, Calf Creeks.
You're still hoping for it to come, huh?
Yeah, it could happen. It happens quick.
Yeah, well, see, now that I put shows on, I don't get awards no more. You know, I give them away unless I go somewhere. But like with this show, it'll be like last year's show. I'll pick 2 people else to be judges, and I'll be the final say-so judge,
Yeah.
And I just think it's easier that way. But I'm a very biased person, you know. I don't do, you know, what's the word I'm looking for? Favoritism.
Yeah.
I don't do favoritism, you know. I like everybody the same, you know, unless they're just a complete asshole, then I don't like them.
I'll let the point do all the talking. If you got a nice one, you got a nice one, man.
Yeah,
And if it's got some nicks on it, then sorry, you know, you're competing against something that's whole, usually. Yeah.
Well, yeah, and then you have to look at the overall, you know. You know, I mean, where did the point come from? You know, what is it made out of? You know, I mean, not is its form and it's flaking perfect. And
does it represent? It's like a dog show. Does it represent that breed? A point? That's a nice side notch. That's a good representation. We don't want to see a side notch with non-bevels. You know, we want to see a beveled. You know, we want to see it all, right?
Yes, sir, we do. That's why we do it. Because if we can't have them all, we want to see them all.
Yeah. Hopefully I get to see a few people. I think, was it Larry Underwood? Older guy?
He might come. He came to last year's show. He always puts on his show, but no, he doesn't have a table.
Yeah. I saw him. I was in a town called Portland, Missouri. I was on the Missouri River riding my bicycle to Herman, and I met him in a bar in the middle of nowhere. We're talking about a dive bar. Go to Portland, Missouri. There's like 10 people there. They get in there, and he's sitting there. I'm like, man, this guy looks familiar. So I up to him. I'm like, so how do I know you? And we couldn't figure it out. And then I was talking about arrowheads. He's like, oh yeah, just down the road I found a cache, 162 points. And he showed me on his phone all his arrowheads. I'm like, oh, you're from the Arrowhead show. That's what it was. And then I got to see him all in person the next time. He brought him right there below, right next to Herman, down below the dam. I guess it was coming out of the bank, so they went up there and got it. Really nice. Dalton's, all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, I've seen it. He's had it a long time, but and he has his own show, and I have talked to some people, and I try never to talk bad about anybody, but they said he's kind of changed. But you know, before he was always kind of them guys that was a little stuck up, like, you know. So I just, you know, I don't care for that type, you know. I believe you should be able to be above yourself, is what I call it.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know if that's the right phrase or not. I've been actually meaning to Google that. You can Google everything nowadays.
Yeah.
But rise above yourself, you know.
For sure. He seemed like an old farmer. You know, some old farmers are a little old and farmery. But he's old. He's an old guy. You know, he's seen some stuff. Yeah. So I was surprised. I'm like, damn, I bet he's been through a lot. He's hardly even talking to me. Like, he's not interested in arrowheads like I am, but he's got a good collection. He doesn't act like it, you know.
Well, we still got 14 watching. You guys must be bored as hell, huh?
Yeah.
Look at that comments. Why? I have to keep refreshing it to go on here. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to the artifact show, especially because everybody we have is all personal collections.
Yeah,
you know,
I like to hear
like
that.
I said, there's some people I know that are coming that are selling some points that, you know, have some from their friends, you know, that they buy.
Yeah.
You know, and or whatever, but. You know, other than that, yeah, there's no market junk in there at all.
Yeah.
You know, and even though, you know, some of them guys do have, you know, real points, and I don't ever mean to offend anybody, you know, I do appreciate them guys, you know, that know what they're doing, and they do spend their hard-earned money on it, you know, because they do that because they appreciate them, you know, and it takes a lot to do that. I just, you know, I bought some arrowheads one time a long time ago, and 2 months later, they didn't mean anything to me.
No, they never do.
And when I look at them online, and I look at all these guys and all their bought stuff from, you know, I seen this one guy, and it had like 5X collections, you know, and had each person's name there, you know, and I'm like, who cares? You know, go pound the ground, you know, and pull one yourself. So, yeah, sometimes I offend people. I don't try to. I don't mean to. It's never intentional. I just tell it like I honestly see it, you know. I mean, that's all a person can do. is tell their honest truth, and the rest is downhill. The ugly truth is always better than the pretty little lie. What we got here on for comments? It ain't the age, it's the mileage. So true. Really like to find a nice drill this year. Yes, Douglas, I would like to see you pull a nice drill this year.
What's the best drill you think? Dalton drill?
What's the best drill?
Well, what's your favorite drill? If you were to find a drill tomorrow, would it be a Dixon?
Aaron, pudding stones, arrowheads, bored as nail.
I think those little tiny drills are cool.
My favorite drill would be the last one I pulled with the dirty hole when Tim came.
The Edley drill?
And yeah, it's basically a Edley work down. It looks like it's a side notch point kind of, but it was probably just had heavy shoulders to it.
Yeah.
But that's the thing about drills too. A lot of them. But we did talk about this a little bit one time, I think on the first podcast I did with you guys. A lot of drills aren't really made to be a drill. They're also, made to be perforators. And that's the thing, a lot of people forget. One of the things they had to work just as much as anything else was every hide of every animal they ever killed. They didn't waste any of it, whether it was to hang over a doorway on their mud stick home, lay down for blankets, which those they probably, I would suggest probably less some fur on them, but they would have been having to do something with that to control the lice problem as well. And then wintertime they're going to want something with fur on them. But in summertime, spring, fall, they're not going to want all that. So, you have to fletch all the fur off of them. But they're not, they did have a lot of bone awls, that they use, but, if you're using a bone to a stone drill, to me that stone have to drill in something that's going to work a lot better than a bone awl if you're having to punch hides, I've done that, and, I use leather needles, and that'd be like trying to use a regular needle compared to a leather needle. It'd be, to me, a buffalo hide would be like using a bone awl to a stone drill.
Yeah.
Because a lot of them are also perforators, and that's the other thing about clothing, you see this all the time, in comments and stuff, especially on Facebook. A lot of people think that they just all ran around barefoot. So manufactured flake, debitage, reduction flakes don't end up in the camp. They all napped over to the side of the camp somewhere, and that's not true. From digging, you find manufactured flake everywhere you find points. It's everywhere. So they were walking around with shoes on. Now, then you have to remember to think back even a little bit farther. It doesn't matter what side they came from, whether they came, we know they came across the Bering Strait. People still want to argue that the Solutreans didn't come across the Atlantic Ocean and the Titan ice sheet, but it doesn't matter where they were at, even over there 100,000 years ago. If they weren't wearing something on their feet, we would be immune to frostbite, or we'd be walking around with no feet.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I bet it didn't take very long for man to, no, we got to put something down there. This is not good, guys. Let's even leaves or anything.
Well, no. If you're crafting clothing, you're gonna figure out how to craft some shoes, with hides and without hides, and you take any animal that has the very thick fat, good thick sinew in there, like a pig. You cut that out and you let it dry out, or an elk. That stuff is thick.
Yeah.
You put it on the bottom of your feet. It's something else that's going to last for a long time. I heard people
used to use intestines and stomach.
Oh yeah, stomachs I think were used a lot for all different kinds of containers. Water containers. Probably even food containers sometimes.
Yeah. Keep it in the stomach, right?
Yeah.
It holds it before death. It can hold it after. Especially how acidic we are.
Addle man, Clay. Lithium Valley Relic Hunter. Lost Lake drills are my favorite. I only have a few pencil drills.
Does a Lost Lake look like a calf creek?
Does a Lost Lake look like a calf creek?
What's a Lost
Absolutely
Lake?
not.
What is it? What is a Lost Lake?
What's a Lost Lake? It's an early archaic point with strong bubbles on it usually, but you do get some that don't have bubbles on them yet.
Okay, yeah. Yeah.
But Lost Lakes here are like a rarity point compared to if you go to Kentucky, Tennessee.
That's why.
You know, Georgia, you know, those southern eastern states. Eastern central states. Don't I have that right, guys? Brixie on live feed. Yeah, this is my first for a live feed, but this is actually a podcast that Dane's been doing for a while, Digger Jim.
Yeah.
Dane, would you please tell the YouTubers that are watching us where they can listen to the other podcasts?
Yeah.
And this one once you get it loaded up?
Yeah, I do believe Libsyn.com, Libysn.
Did you guys get that?
Yeah. Yeah, that Libsyn. Yeah, Libsyn.com. And then type in Hookah Talk. Yeah. Or you can probably just find Hookah Talk at Libsyn.com or .libsyn.com or something like that. But it's also starting to show up on your Google Play, and I think it might be on iTunes now. There's a few other ones that's been notifying me. Check your podcast app if you have one. It might be on there.
Yeah, I don't have a podcast app. This phone I can't add any more apps to. And my tablet that everyone's watching me off of, it's been having a problem running some apps, so I haven't messed with it a whole lot yet.
Yeah.
And it's a cheaper one too, you know. But
yeah, Libsyn. It's a website too. So Libsyn.com. Hookah Talk at Libsyn.com. Check it out. And we have some funny times on there. The guys come over and have a few beers and just talk, and we do that too. So we're just mixing it up. We like to make it mostly about arrowhead. So arrowhead hunting, hiking, metal detecting. That's going to be a couple episodes. I've never really liked metal detecting a whole lot, and Corey's been showing me how much fun that can be, because there's a lot of treasure. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff in the ground where people drop it, just here in town. People drop stuff, you know.
my buddy Go Kick Rocks is on. Oh, volcanic glass. Where's my volcanic glass? He says, hey, Brooks, you spark up the hookah.
Yeah, well, the coals died.
Yeah, his coals died.
And I don't have a good way to light them up out here, so oh well. I'm gonna get a little burner out here, and then we can use that instead. But yeah.
Red Wolf Artifacts. What's up, dudes? What's up, bro? Jonesy says, all my brothers in one place.
We'll I think I'm gonna go maybe hiking tomorrow after work. I got permission actually on the Gravois side along the lake. There's a Millstone Marina, and I was looking at this hill that would have been looking over the Osage River, and a long time ago before they dammed up the lake. And I was like, yeah, but there's arrowheads on that hill, and it's completely flat, real nice. He's like, well, if you want to, you can go up there and look around. And I own this property and this hill and the next hill. You can go up there if you want. So I'm probably gonna do that. I'll take my boat out and then just hit the lake. Maybe burn 5 gallons of gas, I suppose. 2-stroke motors are really...
Think of that growth, fellers.
You use beard oil or anything?
Yeah, I've been using a little bit of beard oil just because it's wintertime and it's real bad. It dries it out, but
yeah,
I make fun of them guys on Live Bearded. Especially I watch them where they go to the barber and get their beard trimmed up. I'm like, come on.
No.
And then you got to be politically correct if you call any of them gay. Oh my God, somebody that is, that sexually sensitive, all offended or something,
Yeah.
I think, that's the thing about some things. Some words are getting taken way out of context.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
For sure. It is the time everybody's easily offended, and extremely, and people that say they're not easily offended can be easily offended. Well, that's people just offensive. Well, you just got to get into what they are into, and then you can offend them. Anybody.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't understand that day and age. I mean, and if you Google up, you know, the word offended, you know, it means to somebody pisses you off, you know. But I see that a little bit different, you know, being mad or being pissed off at somebody about something. It depends on, you know, what you're mad. I'm not gonna get mad at somebody because they called me a name. You know what I mean? Or said, you know, you're ugly, or you know, you smell, or whatever. You're crazy. You're stupid. You know, whatever your opinion is, okay.
Yeah. Well, everybody thinks that their opinion matters too. You know, everybody's, oh well, you can't say that. I gotta put a stop to this. No one cares. Get over it. You know, figure out a way to get over it. If you can't get over this, and then you want to go sign it into law that we can't say that anymore, then you're an issue. Then you're going to make it, what's next? What's the next word that we can't say? Or a way you can address people. Well, we're getting to the point where we're very politically correct, too. You know, you don't want to offend anybody. I don't care.
Right.
Good luck with that. You know,
get over it.
Get over it. And if you can't get over that, have a good life. You're going to have to be taking depression pills, antidepressants to get over people's life. It's offensive, and you can't handle it. And, you know, people freak out.
The world just keeps getting softer and softer.
Yeah.
It's happened for thousands of years, for generation after generation. I mean, guys that were, you know, born, you know, say a generation before me, like my dad, you know, 20 years older. You know, Vietnam guys, they were tougher, you know, the Korean fighters, they were tougher, you know, guys from World War II, you know, World War One, you know, and you just keep going back in time, you know, look at the, you know, like you said, the Crusaders, and you look at the Vikings, or whatever they wanted to call themselves, and, you know, Alexander the Great, they all ran around with swords, you know. Could you imagine running into battle with a sword in your hand, and you're fixing to chop somebody's head off, or somebody's fixing to chop your head off? It's do or die, baby. Do or die.
Did you know Alexander the Great was gay?
Yeah, I think I do remember reading that.
He was gay. I think a lot of people we consider bi now, but his teacher, I think it was Aristotle or Plato, taught him. It was as a mentor.
Yeah.
And so, it's kind of like a culture there. And so he would go all over the world. He tried to follow Hercules' footsteps. He was a mama's boy, and he didn't have a good relationship with his father. He ended up making it all the way down to Egypt, I do believe, and that's where he died.
Yeah.
But he went through.
He went all over.
The Babylon, what we consider the Persian Empire. He went through there, went to India for a while, and then made it to Egypt and got bit by a mosquito. He was only like 24 when he died. He was a young man to conquer that much. You know, he wasn't actually from Greece. He was from Macedonia. So yeah. I think that's extremely northern Greece.
Yeah, Macedonia.
Yeah, and then Peloponnnesia was the southern Greece or whatever. Well, not Peloponnnesia, but yeah. Pretty cool stuff. He was you know, that's the thing, is he'd kill you. I mean, he got a sword in his hand. He was still a great fighter. He wasn't the best fighter compared to the people that he had fighting for him, but I mean, he could destroy with a sword.
Yeah.
You know.
But it was all learning how to control everyone underneath you, getting them to do what you want.
How about just losing your breath? We think about it, like, fighting doesn't last very long, man on man, because we lose our breath. Can you imagine going through thousands of people and expecting to make it? You have to be accurate, and you have to be physically fit. Well, all the walking around, you're fit. But you go into battle and you lose your breath, you're done.
Yeah.
You're dead.
Yeah.
You know, they were tough people back then.
Yeah,
I think the natives were tough to walk up and down the hills to get water every day.
Oh, sure, absolutely.
You know? Oh,
the natives were very tough people. I mean, they had everything they did was to survive.
Yeah.
You know, could you imagine how tough hunting actually was back then? But now you got to remember, that was their thing, though. They were probably very efficient at it, you know, especially with atlatls. You know, I mean, people from the World Atlatl Association have proven, you know, you can hit accurately at 100 yards. Aborigines have proven even that.
Yeah.
I've watched them on video where they nail kangaroos on the run.
Yeah.
You know.
Or using a boomerang. Oh man, that's ridiculous. But they figured out how to use flight to kill something, and they knock a kangaroo in the head with that, and it's dead. They just knock them out. Or a small animal.
Yeah, but they mostly use atlatls when they
Yeah.
hunt kangaroo. Roos are really bad over there.
Yeah.
That's like they make our deer car scenario look like a joke.
Well,
you know?
kangaroos and all animals that are naturally from Australia you can't hunt them except the Aborigines. But the English brought over water buffalo and a few other ones, and you can hunt those.
Yeah.
You can hunt anything that wasn't there originally. And there's like wild boars they brought, all these things, but you can't kill a kangaroo. You don't get to do that. You can't kill a crocodile. You can't kill a lot of those animals. You're not allowed to kill unless it comes at you. I assume you can defend yourself. So there's a huge. I imagine the kangaroos are just jumping around town.
Oh, they're terrible. They're thick, from what I hear.
And the only way you can hunt in Australia is with a bow. Well, or you find with a bow. You can't hunt with a gun.
I know I've watched the Aborigines
Yeah.
On video.
I think they get to hunt
That's
whatever.
about all I've watched, because I like to watch a lot of them guys on YouTube that do primitive hunting.
Yeah.
And then when you watch a couple of those videos, you know how it throws other videos on your home feed, that resemble whatever you just watched. And it had some on there for Aborigines or whatever.
Yeah, I think they get to hunt whenever. They have a different set of rules, I think, just like we do for natives. They have a nation, and they have different rules. They can gamble on there. I think there's a few other things they could do, but they just didn't have a federal law on them. And I think it's the same way down in Australia.
Yeah, that's like, well, like speaking of atlatl hunting, that's where to me, it only makes practical sense to think that just about any of them, because you look at all of them, you have different size points of the same type point. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And a lot of people want to say, well, of course your bigger ones are always a knife, but you're going to have some smaller knives, but a lot of them smaller points were probably made to just be a smaller projectile for smaller animals. You're not going to want to use a great big point to take down a rabbit or a turkey or whatever, a raccoon, fish, whatever, as to where you're going to use a bigger point with a buffalo or, an elk, those type of animals.
There's a guy that made a point and then used it, I think last season in Missouri, 2 seasons ago, used it for deer hunting. It was the alternative methods. Missouri can now, you can use an atlatl, and he did it successfully on video. And
yeah, there's a lady, I forget her name, but she has some videos up, and she atlatl hunts some rabbits, and then this year she took down a doe, and they couldn't find it, that evening till it got dark, and then had to go back next morning. And when Missouri Conservation shared it, bunch of people were razzing on her. It's about like that little girl that shot the elk here. A bunch of people were razzing on her online. Well, she is a girl. Big deal. It was completely out of place. It shouldn't have even been there. Yeah,
most people haven't.
No, it escaped out of a farm. Is what it was. But it's like that gal. She did a pretty successful job. For her first time.
Yeah, she killed it.
when she was beforehand using that atlatl to take down rabbits and them rabbits were on the run while she was
Dang. Is she local?
Spearing them. Yeah, she's in Missouri. I don't remember where at. More northern Missouri, like on the other side of the Missouri River.
Yeah, I mean, I would like to practice with an atlatl just to say.
I've thrown one a few times, but. Yeah, I've been wanting to get my own atlatl and some darts and, have somebody make me some projectile points because I suck at napping.
Yeah.
And try some different things because I wouldn't mind trying to atlatl a deer, a whitetail. Because what I'd like to do is up at the Dirty Hole, because we know the Cucumber and other sites like that, that the Sedalia culture made Hogan-style homes out of mud and stick. Well, the other day I cleared a spot with the weed eater where I want to build a Hogan mud stick home, a Sedalia house. But I'm going to need a lot of help with it because it's something, it's way too big of a job for me and my old broken down bones. But I'm sure I can get a few people to help as time goes on. But I'd like to build the or the Hogan style home there and then do some videos, like kind of like Will Lord does of prehistoric experiences.
Yeah.
He does like a little step back in time and do some scenarios of different things, like busting nuts and, just showing how different tools were used, doing something with the adze being hafted in a handle, and showing how it was used to, make spears, your darts for cultures that did not have good river cane growing around because they all didn't have good river cane to use, so they had to use saplings. And they would have had to extremely work them saplings. Even if they picked nice straight ones, they still had to take all the bark off, and get them down to the appropriate size. If they had to shave them down a little bit, that's going to take a good woodworking tool. It's going to have to be a hafted tool.
Yeah.
It's like everyone always, comes up with that chopper, hand scraper theory, a great big scraper. I don't believe in that. I think it's much more efficient, much more logical and practical to have a tool that is hafted in your hand to work anything, whether it be hide or wood of any fashion.
Yeah.
So we got the helicopter coming in. Look out.
Good luck with that. Yeah, that'd be hilarious if they landed in my yard. What are you doing?
How long have we been on this podcast?
Looks like we're doing about an hour and 12 minutes so far.
Hour and 12 minutes. Are you guys bored yet?
Yeah, I don't know. I would like to figure out how they fish. They use fish hooks. They net.
Well, we know certain, the Mississippian and woodland eras use fish hooks. Certain sites have been found. That's why we call Richard Hook.
Yeah.
Because that fish hook he found, which I should have messaged him earlier, because I was hoping we'd get together and go digging one day for a few hours this week. Which I did get to pull a decent point out of the pawpaw patch, but I'm still wanting to pull a really nice Dixon out of there.
Yeah, it's a Dixon
my
site.
new Dixon case for the show.
Yeah, I need to do some digging too.
Well, we got 6 watching now. You guys are faithful, aren't you? We're at 14. That's okay. I understand it's probably a little boring.
No, it's about arrowheads. Maybe not that boring, right? Well, man, I wanted to do some fishing, some hiking. Boy, my wife doesn't want me doing all that stuff all at once. She hates it. I spend a week doing what I want to do, and then I'm not around. And so arrowheads are just kind of squeezed in there, and I'll make it a priority. And she lets me do whatever I want, so it's kind of nice.
Well, that's good.
But I don't want to stress her out. Like, you don't want to hang out with me? I'm like, I don't know. I'd like to find a good point,
Well, you gotta, to keep a happy life, you gotta keep a happy wife, man. You gotta do the wifey things. You better explain that to them guys.
Yeah. So haven't been going. I don't mind the cold weather either, but I like to see a little bit of rain.
Yeah, that's one good thing about Morel season. We got all that rain, and we got more and more coming in, which is going to help because we were already on the drought monitor. We were in the moderate drought. When you went north of us towards St. Louis, they were actually in the severe drought level. Well, all that rain's going to actually save our mushroom season. I wish we would have seen a little bit more of that snow that blasted through, because like up by Columbia, they got enough to dust the ground pretty good, and cover things. We didn't get that here. When you get that, like 3 weeks before your morels are basically due, man, it makes for a really good morel season because they get that last blast of nitrogen out of that snow. And that does more good than any rain. But you do have to still have the rain before season and during season as well.
I mean, I find them and sometimes I don't even pick them. I'm just like, cool. I know somebody will find those.
Well, next time you run into a big batch, you can message me and say, "Hey, Brooksy, I'm gonna send you his GPS coordinates.
Yeah.
Come get these morels."
Well, this year I'm gonna make up some morels. I'm gonna throw them in a bucket of water and cook them up with some fish. You know.
Yeah, deep fry some.
Yeah.
Now, see, some of my favorite things to do at morels is do other types of cooking with them. I like to put them in my omelets.
Yeah.
I love putting them inside meat. Like right now, I have a couple pieces of deer tenderloin that are about this long.
Yeah.
You'll say about 12 inches long, and I'll take a fillet knife and I'll fillet it out where it rolls out real nice and flat. You know, so you're taking that roll and you're laying it out and you're rolling it out like a flat piece of meat. And then I'll just take clean morels that have been soaking in salt water, rinse them, you know, get all the water wrung off of them. And I like using the great big yellows, you know, the great big white ones for it. And I just kind of stack them in there, you know, real thick. And then I roll that back up and I stake it off, season it up, and put it in the oven and bake it. And you can cook it on the grill. And every bite you take of that makes you want to reach across the table and slap someone.
Yeah.
And I'm not kidding you. It's so good in that. And I have one of them burger presses.
Yeah.
You know, so I'm going to use that with my deer burger. And it makes a pocket, and then you fill it with whatever you want. And I'm going to fill it with morels, cut up, you know, not cooked. Well, I'll let them bake inside the burger. Or I'll probably actually cook them on my little grill. And also put some, because I got to buy like this low-fat cheese. And so I buy this 4 Mexican Fiesta cheese or whatever, and put some of that in there, and then press that burger down to make some stuffed morel burgers. Hey. Oh, talk about slap your mama.
Yeah. Brother's barbecue.
I actually have been making posts on Facebook about morels, you know, showing previous pictures and stuff like that, and bringing certain subjects up, you know, like what kind of trees do you find them around? And because actually in Missouri we have a lot of trees that grow them dang near, I think like 14, 15 different types of trees.
Yeah.
But now our main tree is the ash tree. Our ash trees produce more morels than any other tree, period. You can always find them every year around morels, where some trees you get them where they only grow them every other year around them a lot, or so many years randomly, like walnuts. Hackberries will do that.
Sycamores, is that one?
Sycamores do a big grow every 2 years, but you will get some trees that will still fruit them every year. But they may get an off year. Water oaks, black oaks, you'll get off years where they fruited them, you know, 3-4 years in a row, and then they may not for 2 or 3 years. And then it'll do it again. That's the kind of things you learn when you hunt the same areas over and over for decades. You know, all these areas I hunt, I've been hunting for 20 years.
Yeah.
Actually, 22 years since 23 years now. My first roll up here, when I came here from Illinois to live permanently, and spring come around, I smell morels somewhere.
Yeah.
And it's time to go hunt, you know. But few people kept bringing up cedar trees. And cedar trees don't actually fruit morels.
Too dry, right?
Well, no.
The soil's really dry around cedar.
Well, no. The soil around cedar is actually good because it attracts the same kind of trees that do fruit morels. Yeah. And they will grow together. Like ash trees and cedar trees love to grow around each other. Water oaks. You find cedar patches that may even have just little bitty, I'm talking little 2-3 inch radius ash trees in them, and they'll be full of morels inside a cedar patch. Huh. Giant dogwoods. You find giant dogwoods, I mean like this big, you know, 12 inches round or bigger, you know, and they're real big, gnarly. If you spot them inside cedar patches, you always want to check those, but cedar patches usually fruit your morels more towards the end of the season, you know what I mean? Because that ground's warming up last because it's always in the shade.
Yeah.
You know, I had a friend mention that he picked some morels that was in a cedar patch that he's picked for years, and there's not a single other tree there. But I don't know, it is 60, 70 yards, something like that, there's a bunch of large cottonwoods. Well, morels are actually, they don't grow directly from the roots, but the morels and the roots of trees have a relationship. They have to have one to have the other.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so those kind of spots, like those cottonwoods are producing those morels that far away from those trees, but it's producing them inside cedar trees.
Yeah.
There's usually always something there. Now there is your other type of needle trees that will produce morels, like the western red cedar, and some other trees out west that are like that. I forget what they call all those fir-bearing type trees or whatever.
Douglas firs and pines. And
Yeah, but not in the Midwest. On the other side of the Continental Divide, sure. But those are still, again, a different type of cedar than what we have here.
Yeah.
Our cedars don't produce morels.
We use cedar trees in Missouri for Christmas trees. Out west, and then they're seeing the cedar tree as a Christmas tree in Seattle and stuff.
Yeah, our cedar trees are actually an invasive species.
They're bad.
Yeah.
They're horrible.
They're like the Bradford pear trees ain't bad yet, but people need to quit planting those because they're a bad invasive tree. It's also about like honeysuckle, even though it's pretty and it smells good. Missouri Conservation would rather see it eradicated because it chokes out all our natural vegetation and chokes out a lot of our small natural trees like redbud trees, dogwood trees, small peach trees. Likes to cling on to anything, and it chokes out whatever.
Somebody recently said, I might have arrowheads on my property. I have a thong tree. I told him that it's not likely because how old is that tree?
But they have a thong tree.
Yeah, where they said the tree was bent and it points to water.
I was afraid he was going to say that.
Yeah, I was like, I don't know if that's how that works.
The bent water theory tree.
Yeah.
We laugh at people so hard about that. That there's people that have actually wrote pretty detailed books about that and sold them books like crazy. I'm sorry, but Native Americans, Indians, did not need to bend a tree to tell them where water was.
I thought that was. I always thought that was interesting that people. And if you look how old trees are, they can get old, but I mean, come on.
Yeah, well, our oldest trees actually for our area are cypress trees, which only grow in certain areas in Missouri, and ours grew up to 1,000 years old or so. Our oldest other tree is the white oak, and it's only around 250 years old.
Yeah.
And everything else under that isn't that, like I said, the white oak besides the cypress is our oldest tree, and there's 800 years of difference there, So, bent trees are caused by natural occurrences, very heavy snowfalls, ice storms. I've watched it happen in the woods myself from trees I've seen bent 10 years ago, or 15 years ago, a heavy snowfall. You come by that tree every year picking morels, and the next 4 years later, you see that tree start to walk back up towards the sun. But that bend depends on how heavy it was, and it stays in it. It's just like one time there was a tornado over on the other side, about 40 miles from the house in a certain area in Camden County, and it literally bent a cedar tree that I think was about 4 to 6 inches round, about a foot up off the ground at a perfectly 90-degree angle. And this did this about 18 years ago. Well, about 6 years, I drove by that tree, and it had already been growing straight back up with about a foot bend in it, where it bent twice. It got bent, and it bent itself back up about maybe a foot and a half to 2 foot away from the 90-degree bend caused by the tornado, and growing back towards the sun.
Yeah, somebody brought that up to me the other day, so I definitely wanted to address that for people. That's hilarious. I mean, as a kid walking around through the woods, I noticed that stuff, but trees aren't that old. Some of them are, but not here. I'm looking at a tree that's not even a foot in diameter. It's probably not from but 60 years ago, if you're lucky. You know?
Yeah, just depends on what
Yeah.
tree it is, because they all grow differently.
Yeah. But, well, I guess I might call that podcast over now.
Well, hope you guys enjoyed this.
I guess I get to make that call. Usually I'm just like, okay, that's good enough. Yeah. But, yeah, that's perfect. We'll go home and watch a movie.
Yeah, I think an hour is pretty good.
Yeah. And it leaves stuff for next time, right?
Yep, because we will be doing this again.
Yeah.
Thank you for everyone who watched.
Alrighty.
Instagrammers, YouTubers. Stay easy. Go find a stellar point in your path. I'm gonna try. We got 8 watching.
There you go.
That's so funny to watch myself on film. I like watching myself on my own videos. Man, there has been some serious conversations going on here. Oops. It's hard to tell which ones were last. Oh, mushroom talk. Alright. Calvin's Corner. Hey, B, man. Jeff Kelly. Caught the tail end. But, yeah, it'll, this will be uploaded for a while on my channel, I guess, so you can always go back and watch it from the beginning. Great idea for YouTube meetup. Help Brooksy build the Hogan style hut. Yes! That would be a great idea for a YouTube meetup. Come help me build my Sedalia home, please. Thank you very much.
Oh man, that was a lot louder than I thought.
Jonesy said Cabelli is my favorite kangaroo. Well, that was cool.
Yeah.
Later. Oh. How do I stop it?
I don't know.
No,
There's an
yeah.
X in the right hand corner.
Oh, okay. Just stop.